Okay. All right. This class we're doing today is going to be, I think it's titled, what, Working with In-House REO Buyers? Is that the one we're doing? Okay, we're going to spend a little bit of time going through this, which is actually part of a different class. But I'm not going to start with that because we're actually going to start in a lead router a little bit, and we're going to do a little bit of a live demo in lead router. Let me get this pulled up here real fast. And is everybody in here on lead router?
Mm-hmm.
Active?
I've asked, but I've had training in it, and my name was.
And you're not in there?
No.
Okay. Well, that's one of a couple of reasons. Either number one, you're not trained and you think you are.
I went to the class.
Okay. Or you're not eligible and you think you are.
Well, that's okay.
Or we internally have said we're not giving you any leads for some reason, which is possible for those of you on tape. You know, lead router generally is open to everybody in the office.
Yeah.
But if you're not getting leads and you think you've been trained, you need to talk to your manager, because it's possible that we've said you're not getting any leads because we don't like you. Not you specifically, but
maybe. But that's fine.
Well, it's not fine. If you think you should be getting leads and you're in the system and you're not, you need to go talk to your sales manager. Okay? Because most of the time, we're going to find out here in a minute.
But that's okay.
Well, no, it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. Okay, this is actually, let's go, you guys have seen this a little bit before, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on lead router because this is not a lead router class. This is, you get a buyer who's interested in one of our in-house REOs, and this is what you need to do in order to work with those. I used to be a lot more particular about, and this is who's on lead router right now, so let me see if I can find you on here somewhere, Marilyn. And wow, a lot of people eligible for lead router right now.
I think.
Okay, you are not on here.
But I was in Paris, not here.
Okay.
But it's.
Well, it wouldn't matter because this is all offices.
Oh.
You know, here's the Redlands office
Oh,
and the Claremont Covina office.
Okay.
Well, after the class, shoot me an email or go see Shelly, and we'll find out what the problem is.
I don't.
So, okay, what I was saying earlier is I used to be pretty particular about any agent working with a buyer who was then subsequently going to work with one of the REOs. I've kind of slacked off of that, which is not a good thing. One of the things that I'm concerned about, because there's a lot of secret shoppers out there that are secretly shopping listing agents that work for Fannie Mae or they work for Freddie Mac or they work for the banks, and they want to make sure that we, the collective we, are handling the properties the way they want them handled. So in the course of today's class, properly handling the properties would mean properly handling the buyer inquiries. Okay, so if a consumer calls on a listing 123 Main Street, which is, let's just say it's a Fannie Mae, for example, and it's my listing, the expectation is that consumer is going to get the good information. It's going to be handled. They're going to be handled professionally in a timely fashion, so on and so forth. And from Fannie Mae's perspective, their expectation is that that's either going to be done directly by me, or if it's not done directly by me, it's done by agents that work within my team that are competent, professional, and know what they're doing. Which is why previously, and again we're going to probably reinstitute this a little bit, there was a fair amount of concern that a buyer would call in on a property, they would end up with an agent who maybe was not familiar with the Fannie Mae properties, not familiar with a variety of issues as it relates to that property, and frankly one of you guys would say the wrong thing. Okay? And then even if it wasn't a secret shopper type buyer that Fannie Mae sent out directly, maybe that consumer was upset. You know, they weren't handled professionally. They weren't called back in a timely fashion. They weren't called back at all. They were told the property was sold when it wasn't sold. They would then contact, which is easy to do. If you want to file a complaint on an REO broker, Fannie Freddie broker, I mean, you could literally be talking to somebody in Washington, D.C. within an hour or so and say, hey, I'm John Q. Public. I tried to get information on oops. Excuse me. Your presence is requested. Don't mind the video. It's okay.
Yeah.
at any rate, I tried to get information on 123 Main Street. The listing broker was Lance Martin, and I either didn't get information or I got bad information, and I'm upset. Next thing you know, that person from Fannie Mae at Washington, D.C. is calling the asset manager locally, and then the asset manager is calling me, and they're saying, we have a problem. John Q. Public called on your listing, and this is what they said happened. Okay? That is a huge concern of mine, especially when I now allow what looks to be like a list of 100 people that will, in theory, take my buyer leads and not handle them properly. Okay? Pretty scary. And as a matter of fact, from my perspective, it wasn't that long ago that I wouldn't let you on Lead Router until we had had this type of conversation. So, and frankly, that's probably going to be the case moving forward, because I've gotten a little lax with it, and we're either really good, which I hope that that's the case. I hope everybody in the office is really good and handles the buyers professionally and timely and all the rest of that. Or we've been really lucky, one or the other. And lucky doesn't float. That's a recipe for disaster. So, at any rate, the reason I bring up Lead Router is because, frankly, a lot of these leads are going to come to you. And if you're not familiar with it, I'm just going to give you the basics. This is what the call center sees. The consumer calls in. My name is John Smith. I have a phone number. Maybe we get an email. Not normally. We don't normally get emails unless they send an email directly, which happens. We could get leads from homepath.com, which is an email lead, and in that particular case, you guys would be getting an email lead from Lead Router, and it would say, hey, this person has requested information on 123 Main Street. Their preferred method of contact is via email. Okay? The same rules apply on an email lead that apply to a call-in lead. 15 minutes. So if you're going to accept those leads, then within 15 minutes you need to get on the computer, and in this particular case, send an email back to that client and say, my name is Lance, or whoever you are, don't say you're me, you know, and I am here at your service. Yes, the property's available. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, listed for $120,000, and I can show it to you this afternoon if you like. Whatever you want to do. Okay? So they're going to plug in this information. Now, this is a problem, and I need to get some feedback from you guys. The call center is constantly improving. Two things should happen. Number one, if the property is listed, they're going to select the property down here. That's much easier for you guys. Much, much, much easier for you. Okay? In that it's now, when the lead comes across, it says this consumer is interested in the property listed at 123 Main Street for $175,000, and it gives you that basic information, correct? Mm-hmm. Not up and down if I want. And by the way, if I say something that's not right, then you know, oh wait a minute, it doesn't work like that, somebody tell me. So if it has that information, that's an easy one. Okay? Now, that also, I'm making a gigantic leap of faith and an assumption here, and I understand that probably for most people, what I'm about to say, this is not correct. Okay? But if you really want to rise to the top and you want to close these leads and you want to catch my attention, then when that lead comes through and it specifically says John Smith is interested in 123 Main Street, that's easy for you because you have already seen 123 Main Street, because you are all collectively out previewing property every day, right? Wrong? Okay. Now, I would like the truth to be that everyone says, of course, Lance, whenever we get a new, and again, we're focusing in today's discussion on working with the in-house REO buyers, which means they're interested in our in-house REO inventory. Okay? But this applies to anything. This doesn't, you can apply this same class to working with buyers generally, even though our focus is going to be on the REO side. But what you should be doing is you guys should be going to our website regularly, pulling down our REO inventory regularly, and previewing it, okay? And I'm not talking about just previewing the, by the way, this is our website. I'm moving kind of fast. On the far left side, about, I don't know, halfway down, there is a, under Other, #1 agent portal, or portal agents. Who in this room has been to this? Good, most of you. All right. If you go there, it is password protected. Okay. You do have to type in your password. CBPREAGENTSOS. I don't think there's an S. I haven't logged in a while. If you log in regularly, it kind of saves you in a cache or something like that. You don't have to do this very often. If you go here and you go to, I think it's market data, I think at the very top, REO inventory list. Okay? This REO inventory list is updated every 15 minutes. Okay? So if we made a change to this property on Leland 15 minutes ago, and it went from active to pending, well, this is as good as 15 minutes, which for most purposes, that's pretty damn good. Okay? So if you do go to our website and you follow this link and you pull this list up, you should have data which is pretty accurate. Okay? So getting back to, let's see how many properties we have in here. I think there should be about 120. There's 109. There's 109 records. This, by the way, this currently, and I'm going to change this, note to self, I got to change this. This doesn't include Dwayne's inventory with the Freddie Mac stuff. I need to get a separate link up here that'll have Dwayne's. But let's pretend it had everything. So this, getting back to, the lead now comes in. Let's just take East Palm Avenue in Redlands. Okay, if you are taking leads in Redlands, which I'm sure probably most of you are, would it have been a good idea for you to go preview 237 East Palm Avenue in Redlands? Yes. Along with all of these others. Okay? Even the ones, let's find one that's not listed yet. Okay, let's grab this one.
Sunny Meadows?
Pardon me?
Sunny Meadows?
Okay, well, Sunny Meadows is maybe one. I'm just going to grab this one here on Peppermint.
Okay.
Okay. The PM, by the way, anything that has PM in front of it is just pre-marketing. Okay. So this particular one is pre-marketing vacant. We need to reformat this a little one. There's the pre-marketing dash ... That probably is pre-marketing personal property. Okay. But anything with the PM, and again, these are the ones that you really need to know as well, because these buyers can be even captured and coddled even a little bit more so than maybe some of the other ones. But if someone calls you on Peppermint, okay, it would be nice if you instantaneously knew, Peppermint, bank-owned property, not listed yet. I've seen it. It's a 4-bedroom. It's in a cul-de-sac with the pool. The pool is green, but Lance tells me they're going to clean it up and it's going to be blue in a week. So you've got all that information, and then better yet, you can basically, as soon as you call that client back, you know exactly what you're talking about. As opposed to what I'm fearful many times is you do get the lead. The consumer says, I need information on 123 Main Street. Oh, let's go back to lead writer here for a second.
You have lockboxes on those ones that are pre-marketing?
There's normally lockboxes on all of them. Yes. Let's go back to lead writer here for a second. I made the assumption that the buyer called in and had a specific address and that property is already listed. Okay, so if it's already listed, the call center should be selecting, here it is, down here, the actual listing. So when your phone rings, it's giving you all the listing information. It's giving you that basic information already. Again, I'm hoping that that triggers in your mind, yes, I previewed that property 3 weeks ago and I know everything I need to know about it. Now sometimes we all know that that's not the case. The Peppermint property, for example. Buyer calls in, we have a sign out in front of Peppermint. Peppermint is not listed yet, right? Therefore, it's not in the MLS, it's not going to show up in this list. So what the call center, I hope, is doing is coming over here into the comment section and typing in, buyer called on 123 Main Street, or in this case Peppermint, property not listed yet, and pre-marketed. I don't think they're going to that extent, okay? But hopefully they're giving you as much information not only on the property over here, but they're also giving you as much information on the buyer. For example, the buyer says, I'm coming in from out of town on Tuesday. I'd like to view properties on Wednesdays and Thursdays and get an offer accepted before I leave on Thursday night because I'm going out of town for another 2 weeks. Okay? Would that be something you guys would like to know? Of course it is, and if they say that, that should show up in the comment section over here. So, from a standpoint of previewing, I would love it if we could all, with confidence, sit back and say that we have reviewed and looked at all of these properties, okay? Especially if you are in the lead router pool that says you have an opportunity to take a look at all of these properties, because that basically makes you just that much more professional. Now, I think we talked about this in one or two other prospecting classes, but if you are primarily, let's keep it really simple. You are primarily a buyer's agent and you are primarily focusing in a specific area, okay? Any town, USA, okay? The same philosophy would be nice. New listings are coming on the market on a daily basis, right? If you are going to be working in that particular market, you need to get up and you need to preview those properties. Go out and take a look at them. Call the particular owner up. I like to come by and preview your property. Do you have a buyer? No, I don't have a buyer. Well, why are you coming by? Because I'm the neighborhood expert in this particular neighborhood, and I would like to come on up and preview it, because I could get a phone call this afternoon for somebody looking for a 3-bedroom, 2,200 square feet on the north side of town. And if I've seen your property, I'm good to go. Okay? All right. So, getting back specifically to our REO stuff. Number one, basics, is if somebody's calling in on whatever property it happens to be, we need to be able to answer their questions with authority. Okay? Yes, it is available. No, it is not available. It is an escrow. Or it's already closed escrow. Or it's going to be available, but it's not on the MLS yet. Well, you need to know why. Why is that? I don't understand that. There's a sign in the yard. Why is it not in the MLS? Well, it's in pre-marketing. What does that mean? Property's been foreclosed upon. We don't have a list price. Could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe we're waiting for the BPO to be completed. Maybe we're waiting for the bank to complete the appraisal. Maybe we're waiting for repair bids. Now, nowhere on this form well, there may be some notes over here that give you a little bit of an indication, or you could always call me, or you could call Drew, or Vicky, or whoever else on the team. But I don't expect you necessarily to have all that minutia, but you do need to be able to, if it's not listed yet, you need to be able to explain to that consumer in a way that they understand. Well, why is it not listed? We're waiting for the appraisal, we're waiting for repairs, maybe the property just went through foreclosure and there's personal property remaining. So just give them the basics. There could be a variety of reasons why this property is not on the market yet, but I assure you this, it is going to come on the market and you have just as good a chance as the next person to write an offer and see that. By the way, when would be a good time for us to go by and look at it? Today at 2 or tomorrow at 4 would be better. Okay? So, and you can show these properties. And I'm talking specifically pre-marketing properties. I have one serious caveat and concern with that. Some of the properties that are in pre-marketing with personal property, I discourage you from going through those properties if the first time you've gone through that property is with a client. Okay? Let's just pretend, for example, not to pretend, it's the truth. This property on Church Street in Rancho Cucamonga, it's a condo, unit 101. There's some personal property that remains. Just like any good buyer's agent, if you can avoid it, you never want to show a property to a client that you haven't seen yourself first. Because you're setting yourself up for embarrassment. If your client tells, and by the way, if you do ever show, can you tweak that blind just a little bit more? The reflection from that car is getting right in the eyes. Or maybe turn it the other way if that doesn't work.
Better? Another one?
No, that's good. That's better. Not perfect, but better. Okay, so, but if you ever are going to show a property you haven't seen first, I suggest full disclosure. Tell the buyer prospect, oh, and by the way, you and I will be seeing this for the first time together. Okay? And God forbid you try to sneak that by and you looked at some MLS pictures, and the MLS pictures look nice. So you are now describing to the buyer what you think is going to be a nice picture based upon nice MLS photos. And then you realize when you get in the house, those pictures did not mask the odor and the carpet looked like it had been cleaned, but no, yes, it's brown carpeting, but it wasn't originally brown. Okay? So anyway, you want to preview these properties as much as you possibly can. And again, I understand it's not practical. In every case, you're not going to be able to go out and see as many of these properties, or any of these properties for that matter. But if you're going to be serious about this, I suggest you go look at them. Okay? So you are educated when it comes to that. Now, specifically, getting back to the pre-marketing, if you're going to show a property that has personal property in it, I got to tell you, this should be mandatory. Okay? You go look at it first. Then when that client calls and they say, hey, I want to go see 123 Main Street, and you can say, well, it's not on the market yet, it's in pre-marketing, and on this particular one, I'll be happy to show it to you, but I just want you to understand in advance, we cannot go inside. Okay, we can look at the property, we can walk around, maybe we can take a look at through a couple windows, but I can't get you inside this property yet. Well, why is that? Well, because it's filled with furniture, there's been a flood, there's boards with nails sticking out, it's hazardous. Whatever the reason is, we can't go inside because we're concerned. Now let's use the example of personal property. It's filled with furniture. This is another one where I get really, really concerned. Okay? On these bank-owned properties that are in pre-marketing and there's personal property, the rule, anybody know the rule, how long we have to hold and maintain that property after
18 days.
18 days. Okay? And if those of you say, wait a minute, I thought it was 15 days, both answers are correct. If we do an eviction and we knock on the door with the sheriff and the person is there and we evict them and the person is at the property during the eviction and they leave behind personal property, the rule for that person is 15 days. Okay? If under any other circumstance, when we go to the property and the person is no longer there, they just disappeared, we have not had face-to-face contact with that person, and they've left behind personal property, then the 18-day rule is in effect. Forget about the 15-day rule, because just go with 18 days, you're always safer that way. But we have to maintain that property, we have to secure that property, and we have to control that personal property for 18 days. And guess what happens if something comes up missing? My responsibility. Okay? So, which is one reason I know, of course, in this office would do it. But I get a little bit afraid when I allow you guys to go look through a property that has personal property, and you walk through, and most, let's face it, 95% of the time, it's trash, and if you were to pick something up and take it with you, you probably would be doing us a favor, okay? Because it's just one less thing that has to end up in the dumpster, okay? But there are times, and you guys have probably seen this, where you've gone through one of these properties, and there's personal property remaining, and you know it's a bank-owned property, and you take a look at something, you're like, wow, that's kind of nice. And you know that somebody's going to come in a week from now with a truck, and they're going to haul all that stuff to the dump, right? So your thought is, well, that's silly. That's a nice crescent wrench. Let me take that crescent wrench. Okay? Because then someone's just going to throw it away. Or those trash out people are going to get that crescent wrench. Okay? Well, danger, 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 danger. Okay? If anything out of that property walks away, it's my responsibility. And what, even worse, if you are taking clients through that property, okay, saying, I don't mind this stuff, all this stuff will be trashed out in another week, and then we'll have a list price on it a few days or a week after that, and then we can sit down and get serious about writing an offer, and we'll talk about when you can write an offer and when you should or shouldn't write an offer. But God forbid you've got a client coming through that property, and then your client all of a sudden gets sticky fingers and puts something in their pocket. Bad news, okay? And then, of course, if there's health and safety issues, that's a whole other reason. So, moral of the story is whenever you see any of these properties that are in pre-marketing, now, by the way, if it says pre-marketing vacant, in theory, the property it's all trashed out and there's nothing behind. But that's not always the case. You might still get over there and there might not be any personal property, but there could be some things about this property that are hazardous, okay? You know, maybe a wall's been knocked down. Again, my silly example, but there's a board sticking out that has a nail, you know, so if someone was to walk down the hallway, they in theory could, you know, tear their arm or something like that, okay? That's liability, that's a concern. And in this day and age, You do something like that, and the next thing you know, I'm getting a letter from an attorney that says, hey, you know, you showed my property, my client this property, and they hurt themselves, and now they have tetanus, and they're going to die. So, anyway, preview. Okay, now getting back to actually dealing with the specific buyers. Okay, most of the time they're going to want the basics. Is the property available? How many bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, list price. Okay, if you cannot answer those 4 or 5 questions, then you really need to find the answers to those questions before you're going to call them back. Okay? Again, keep in mind, if you're getting most of these leads through Lead Router, and again, we'll talk about holding open houses. I mean, if you're holding an open house on a property, hopefully you've done enough homework that you are aware. Okay? I know exactly what I need to do in order to, I know the bedrooms, I know the bathrooms, I know the schools, I know the HOA fees, I know all the rest of that sort of stuff. But if this is just a cold one, when this lead comes through, they're going to want to know that basic information. I get this regularly. You know, once a year is too many. I probably get this call probably about once a month. Okay? And I will have a consumer who is called into the office, been connected to one of our agents, and then the consumer calls me back, calls the front desk and says, I don't know who this Chris guy is, but he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. I want to talk to the listing broker. I want to talk to Lance. I want to talk to the broker, the manager. And they will tell me, the person that you had call me to give me property information knows nothing about the house. Okay? That's a problem. Okay? And you got to remember, where are most of these leads coming from?
Sign calls.
Sign calls. The consumer is in front of the house already. They may actually have already taken a little trip around the house and walked around it. So they actually may be asking you questions that they already know the answer to. Okay? Oh, well, does it have a pool? Well, no, this one doesn't have a pool. Well, are we talking about the same house? Because I'm actually in the backyard right now, and, you know, well, why did you ask me? I don't know, just testing you. Do people do that?
Yes.
They do it all the time. Okay? You know, is it on a large lot or a small lot, or what about the neighbor across? And you have to know these basic questions. And frankly, the more you know, the better. The better opportunity you're going to have to basically to close these specific leads. Now, another thing on these, I want to, before I forget, I don't have an agenda here. I probably should have got myself a little bit better of an agenda. Let's go through. Who's been on Fannie Mae's website before? Anybody? One or two of you?
Two.
Okay. Fannie Mae, what is that? What the heck is that?
Fannie Mae gourmet chocolate.
Someone's hijacking that. That's pretty. You gotta love that. All right, this is. I thought their website actually was eFannie Mae. I think this is the one they want though.
Yeah.
Okay. You go to Fannie Mae's website, or better yet, by the way, actually I'm actually taking you to the wrong place. What's the brand that Fannie Mae has out to the public these days? HomePath. Okay. So which, and by the way, it's interchangeable. You know, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae's Home Steps, Fannie Mae's HomePath. Freddie Mac was using the Home Steps plan. So I think you can get to HomePath from here. Let's see.
Homepath.com?
Yep. You know, it's probably actually helping homeowners and communities. Let's see if this probably has something for home buying process. I bet you this will probably take you to HomePath. Let's see. Understanding how to buy. By the way, there's great information on here.
Fannie Mae.
What's Fannie
Okay, this is not where I want to be, but I stumbled by this on accident, and this is good stuff. This is really good stuff. Fannie Mae's understanding the market, a bunch of questions about how to buy foreclosures and all the rest of that sort of stuff. This is one of the things we talk about in our training classes all the time. The consumers today have access, and in many cases actually have knowledge to information that is in excess that you have. So if you have a consumer who's already gone through and spent a whole bunch of time on Fannie Mae's website, or actually where I really wanted to go, which is HomePath. So let's try that. HomePath. And there we go. And they've done their homework, they are going to embarrass you. Okay? You've got to know this information. Okay? And again, if you have consumers that are specifically looking for Fannies, and the same thing for Freddies, but if you have consumers that are specifically looking for, properties in Moreno Valley, California, well, they've got all the data. They've got it. Okay? And if you don't, or if you give them information that's not accurate, they're going to beat you over the head with it. Or worse, and this is one of my larger fears, okay? You inadvertently give them bad information. The property is pending when it's not. The price is 120 when it's really 110. Okay? That consumer then puts some sort of nefarious meaning to that and is now basically calling the banks saying, for some reason the listing broker didn't want me to get this house. They gave me bad information. They must have had a buyer that they were already working with and they didn't want me to come in sideways on it. So, but there's just tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of information here for this property, and this is all consumer. This is not nothing special about this. This is all consumer. Okay. And by the way, another thing real quick, a good place to start. These properties are a first look program. If you don't know what the first look program, you need to know what the first look program is. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac calls it something different. I can't remember what they're calling it. What do they call it?
I think it's initiative or something.
First look initiative. I don't know if they're using the term first look, but at any rate, they're both basically the same thing. They're saying you cannot buy my property in the first 15 days unless you are an owner-occupant or a neighborhood stabilization. Okay. So, in other words, if you have a client that is an investor, you're going to get those calls all the time. You need to know this. Let's just pretend you have somebody who calls on Hiawatha and they are interested in getting information on Hiawatha, and you then find out that they are an investor, and then you subsequently go write an offer for them on Hiawatha, and now you find out that the property is still in the Fannie Mae 15-day first look program, and you never told them that. This particular one has 9 days left. Okay? So you need to know that. So you need to be able to sit back and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, if you're interested in this particular property, I cannot even submit an offer for you to the bank that will be considered for another 9 days. Fannie and Freddie are hardcore on this. Okay? So number one, don't waste your time. Don't waste your buyer's time. Now that doesn't mean that you just abandon them and say, oh, well, forget it, call me in 9 days. You still want to work with them, but you've got to get them educated on what the whole first, and by the way, this is the only place, I don't even like Drew giving out the first look information. If an agent calls and says, how many days left on first look, go to homepath.com. Okay? Because on some of these properties, are they literally waiting for this thing to click down? Absolutely. And if I say inadvertently there's 2 days left, when in reality there was 1 day left, and now that one consumer was waiting for 2 days and they should have waited 1, and now all of us, again, what happens? It was an honest mistake. We didn't mean to give them bad information. But yesterday a bunch of people wrote an offer, now the buyer comes in a day and a half or 2 days later, they write an offer. Oops, too late. What do you mean it's too late? You told me I had 2 days. Ah, crud. You're right. I did tell you you had 2 days. I was wrong. So we like to send the consumer, or their agent for that matter, directly to the website. Okay. So again, the consumer has this data, so make sure that you understand it and you've had access to this as well. Now again, this is easy for the Fannie and Freddie stuff. We don't have necessarily all these websites on some of the other REO inventory that we have. Some of the Chase stuff, for example, not as easy to get this data, but it is available. You'll notice on all of these properties, If you want to submit an offer, you do it online. Does anybody in here have the pleasure of submitting a new online offer for the Fannies?
No.
Okay. Well, you will. As a matter of fact, I would suggest, rather than waiting to, matter of fact, I've never done it. Let's learn together. Rather than waiting for your first Fannie Mae offer, why don't you go ahead and come on to homepath.com right now, find your, where is it? How hard can it be, huh? Let's go to the home page. Search for home, featured home, related links, useful tools. I'm looking for submit an offer. My account.
Well, you have to find the address first.
Well, now first I need an account. Okay? Or sign up for property alerts. I think the first thing I need to do is I need to go get an account. Log on to this thing, set yourself up, because you cannot, if you are an agent representing buyers, you have to submit, and by the way, here's just caught my eye. If you want more information on the First Look program, there it is. Click on the link, it'll give you everything you need to know about the First Look program. And the Fannie and Freddie First Look program, for all intents and purposes, are the same. Okay? But log in, get yourself an account. You cannot submit an offer on the Fannie Mae property without having an account first. Now, I don't think it's going to take more than 10 minutes to do it, but if you haven't done it already, go ahead and do it. Get yourself logged in. As a matter of fact, maybe you want to sign yourself up for property alerts. Okay? You can sign yourself up in the system that says anytime a new property in the city of Colton comes available, you get an email.
Is that anybody can go on there and write it?
Anybody. No, you have to be an agent. You have to be an agent if you're going to write an offer. Okay? Consumers cannot write offers for themselves. Okay? And again, I haven't done it. I didn't. This really wasn't the intent of my program. But I'm pretty sure you're going to have to give them some bona fide credentials, DRE license number, and that sort of stuff. Okay? But then once you have all that, and once you're basically registered, then if you do again find, let's just take this featured property here for $333,000. Every one of these properties. Well, here we go. Let's make an offer. You do it all online now. This is going to stop me. It's going to force me to tell them who I am and am I registered and log in and all the rest of that sort of stuff. There you go. Do this now. Don't wait. Okay? You should be writing offers on Fannie Mae's, if not mine, somebody's. Okay? So get yourself registered. If you're a potential buyer, well, you're going to do something different. Thank God, Fannie Mae still says, use a realtor. Contact the listing broker. Contact the agent. Okay? Which again, you got to love this. They're telling the consumer to contact us. I'm taking those leads. I'm giving them to you. Okay? So, all the more reason to get them handled properly. So, and submitting an offer online, I got to tell you, submitting the offers online is, from what I've seen so far, it's a fairly simple process. I love it because there's no more of this nonsense that I sent you an offer, I emailed it to you, I faxed it to you. No, you didn't, because you got to do it over here. And if you don't go down to the bottom and do everything right and upload everything right and click submit correctly, the offer's not submitted correctly. Okay? So spend some time on this site. Make sure you're getting it properly. Now, along those lines, I'm going to bounce around a little bit. We're talking about Fannie Mae right now. Okay? On most of the other banks, they don't have. Matter of fact, Fannie Mae's only had an online offer submission program since December 7th of this past year. It's only been 30 days. This is all of this. So for those of you who are like, geez, I feel like I'm kind of missing out, I'm behind. This has only been available for a month. Okay? So for those of you that haven't written a Fannie Mae offer in the last month, of which 2 weeks of was Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to give you a little bit of a pass. But if you log on and do that, but then you also want to know this. Okay? This is a different class, but I'm going to take 2 minutes and go through this. And if you haven't seen this before, send me an email, and I will give it to you. Or if you're watching this on video, in the class materials, a copy of this Getting Your Offer Accepted form is on the class materials. You can download it and pull it up when you're watching the video. This is basically 11 easy steps to get your offer accepted. Okay? Now, this has nothing to do with online. This is how we internally basically want to see offers when you're writing offers on any of our properties. Whether it's Fannie or Freddie or Bank of America or Chase or whatever it happens to be. Now, I could summarize this page up by basically saying one thing. Read the contract and the MLS instructions. Okay? If you haven't already, go back and watch our video training class on how to write an offer and how to present an offer. Okay? Because this is so basic and so elementary, it's almost embarrassing to have to go through this. First and foremost, make sure you send all of your contact information, the listing agent's contact information. Who are you? How do I get a hold of you? I cannot tell you how many times I receive offers from buyer's agents where there's no way for me to contact them. They send a fax, which, by the way, that's old school. We don't fax things anymore. I want to throw the fax machines out. Okay? If you're not submitting an offer in person, you want to have that offer professionally scanned in a clear, legible PDF and sent to the listing agent in an email. So at least they have your email address and hopefully all of your other appropriate contact information, your phone number and your cell phone number and your mailing address and all the rest of that sort of stuff. But I get offers all the time and I can't reply. They come in the form of a fax. There's no header. There's no cover page. You go to page 8 and there's nothing. Sometimes there's not even a name. Sometimes there is a name and there's a phone number and I call the name on the bottom of the car contract, right? Hey, Sally Jones with ABC Realty. Thanks for submitting the offer. I just got it. They're like, I didn't submit an offer. Well, you sure did. I've got your CAR form with your information on the bottom. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? That wasn't me. Oh, there's a couple agents in my office that use my login to write offers.
Oops.
Oops. Is that a problem?
Big problem.
Big problem. Well, I don't know if it's a big problem, but it's bigger than a small problem. So at any rate, make sure we know who we're talking about. Submit your offer where the people want it. If it's on my property, now again, this is a little old school. I need to modify this. Up until 30 days ago, if you wanted to submit an offer on one of my properties, all you had to submit them to offers@pioneerrealestate.com. Now, if it's a Fannie Mae property, what do you got to do? Right? You got to go online. You got to go to homepath.com, and you got to come over here, sign up, and submit it online. Okay? But the bottom line is now, if you look at my MLS printouts, it's going to say one of two things. Email the offer to offers@pioneerrealestate.com, or if it's a Fannie Mae property, go submit your offer online to Fannie Mae. I just had this phone call yesterday. Someone wanted to write an offer yesterday on the holiday. And they said, I just emailed you over an offer. And I said, that's great, but this is a Fannie Mae property. Did you read the instructions in the MLS? Well, yeah, I did. Well, go read them again. Because it doesn't say to email me the offer. It says all offers must be submitted online at homepath.com. Okay? So you read the instructions. Use the most current car contract. Don't use one that's 30 years old. Know your buyer's name. We talked about this in a different class. Know your buyer's name. Know who your buyers are. Don't put John Jones and then find out that it's John S. Jones. He likes that middle initial in there. Or he likes the middle initial, he likes his middle name spelled out. You know, John Stephen Jones. Okay? Know who your people are. Again, get your pre-qualification. Go to the MLS for instructions. Pre-qualification is important. I'm going to go back to the HomePath website. And again, I'm focusing a little bit on Fannie. Don't get overly hung up on that because, you know, the same information applies to all these banks. If the bank says, for example, I need a cross-qualification with a B of A direct lender, then you need a cross-qualification with a B of A lender, right? That's simple. Okay? Well, they don't want to use B of A. They want to use Wells Fargo. Well, in most cases, that's okay. You can use Wells Fargo, but if it says get a B of A pre-qual, you have to do what? Get a B of A pre-qual. Okay? Very simple. Now, that's not uncommon for a lot of these banks. Most banks will not force you, because there's some RESPA rules to violate. They won't force you that says, hey, this is a Chase, you have to use Chase, it's Chase or we're never going to accept your offer. Did the banks used to do that? Mm-hmm. They did. Fannie Mae used to do that. Back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember Director's Mortgage, which then became Norwest and then I think was bought out by Wells Fargo. But there was a period of time where if you wrote an offer on a Fannie Mae, I'm talking like 1993 I think it was, you had to go to director's mortgage to get a loan. That was a short window of time, and some attorneys came down and said, "Oh, stop that." Okay, but on Fannie's now they don't require a specific lender, which makes sense because Fannie Mae buys loans from Wells Fargo and Chase and B of A, and if Fannie Mae said you've got to get a pre-qual from B of A, all of those other people that they're buying loans from probably would have a little problem with that. But getting back to specifically Fannie, who's heard of the home path loans? Home path loans, home path renovation loans? Okay. If you want to get a home path type loan on these properties, I hear this happen all the time. And by the way, you will have consumers. Consumers will call you and they will specifically say, I'm interested on the Fannie Mae property at 123 Main Street. Oh, and by the way, I like this home path loan. They've been on the website. They've already read about it. They know more about it than you do. Or the flyers. I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe they've seen the property already, or maybe they've been in another Fannie Mae property. Hold on a second. This will also be downloaded into the. This will be downloaded into the archived file if you're watching this on video. Let's see here. Crud. What do I do with it? Sorry guys, I'm not as prepared as I should have been. Where'd that folder go? Okay, I'm not finding what I want, but what I'm looking for is the home path financing materials. Okay, which basically is a flyer, and that flyer is going to tell the consumer everything they ever wanted to know about home path financing. 3% down payment, no closing cost, no appraisal fees, yada yada yada. Okay, so and by the way, the flyer I'm going to try to get, you don't have to get the flyer. Frankly, we could probably pull the flyer off right here. More information, downloadable PDF. This is what I was trying to find. Okay? So here's your fact sheet. Everything you ever wanted to know about a home path loan. If your consumer knows more about this than you, why are they paying you? Okay? So, what it's all about, allows a borrower to purchase a Fannie Mae owned property. Can you use a home path loan to buy a Freddie Mac loan? House? They don't go, it doesn't cross. Home path is Fannie Mae only. Okay? It's got some really cool benefits and features if they're going to get a home path loan. Low down payment. Down payment at least 3% can be funded by buyer's own savings or a gift or a grant. Okay? No appraisal. Not only are there no appraisal fees, there is no appraisal. Could that be a problem? Think about it. Buyers say, hey, great, the house is listed for $150. I'm going to write an offer for $150. But a lot of buyers, they realize, well, they have a little bit of a safety net. And the safety net is, well, maybe we overpaid a little bit, but that's okay, because if we do pay too much, what's our safety net? Safety net is the appraisal. They're going to get a loan, the appraisal comes in, and the appraisal comes in at $140. Okay, well now the buyer gets back and says, well, okay, well I guess the $150 was too much. So now we get to go back and we get to renegotiate, and we need to come back to what the quote-unquote true market value is, assuming the appraisal is true market value. That's a whole other conversation. But with a Fannie Mae, there is no appraisal. Let's suppose for a moment that we thought that the property was worth $150. Okay? And let's suppose our BPO was $150. Let's suppose we even had an escrow that was opened and we had an appraisal for $150. Okay? And the escrow falls out. And let's suppose we put the property back on the market And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, there's just a huge amount of interest in this property. We have 5 or 6 offers in on it, and one of those people have come in with the highest and best, and they've written an offer for $175. And we've said, wow, that's a lot. Why would you want to do that? Well, why did they want to do it? Because they wanted the property. And in addition to writing an offer for $175, they decided they wanted to go home path. Okay? Well, guess how much that property is going to sell for? $175, because there's no appraisal in there to tell them, oops, you just overpaid, you know? Which is why is it important for you guys to represent your clients well. You don't want to be writing offers that aren't going to appraise, even if it's a home path property. Which, by the way, the intent of the home path financing, home path mortgage, was not to do no appraisal for the purposes of selling properties for more than they're worth. That's not what that whole point was. The point was is Fannie Mae's already done values. They've already got the property listed at a price that they think is appropriate. And for the most part, it was done for properties that maybe some appraisal issues would be a problem as it relates to repairs. An FHA appraisal, for example, could come out and say, well, we've got minor things. These minor 5 or 6 things that are wrong with the property. Fannie Mae has some sort of list of things that they consider minor. They say, well, those are minor, that's okay. We'll go ahead and finance the property with those things in place. Maybe a little bit of peeling paint, or maybe whatever it would happen to be that maybe an FHA appraiser would have a problem with. Okay? So at any rate, oh, and by the way, one of the great benefits, by the way, this is a great loan. I love home path financing. If I have a consumer who's looking at a Fannie Mae property, if I don't recommend they use home path, I at a minimum recommend they take a look at home path. Specifically as it relates to FHA financing, if for no other reason, one of the huge benefits, home path over FHA, is there's no mortgage insurance. Okay? On FHA, you've got mortgage insurance, but you got MIP. Okay? Which is going to add to the payment. You don't have that on any of these, on the Fannie Mae home path program. There's a whole bunch of other things on here that talk about as far as the home path program. But another thing that's important is, find a lender. If you're going to do home path on a Fannie Mae, there is a list of approved lenders. Lender list at a glance. Okay, here they are. Okay, well actually there's a few more down at the bottom. I get this at least once a week. I will have an agent who will say, I'm going home path. I say, great, send me over home path pre-qualification letter from a home path approved lender. And they send something over from ABC Mortgage Company. So I come to my list, and I am looking alphabetically, A, B. I don't see ABC Mortgage Company. Well, they're home path approved. And then guess what? Guess who calls me? And I say, no, they're not. And then guess who calls me next? The broker owner of ABC Mortgage Company. We are home path approved. I just funded 2 home path loans last week.
Then you say, how come you're not on the list?
You're not on the list.
Right.
Well, because we broker to MetLife. Okay? Well, then if that's the case, get me your pre-qualification letter from
What?
MetLife. Now, if you got a deal with MetLife that says you want to do the loan, and you're going to work something out with MetLife, I don't care. But what I want to see, and what the Fannie Mae loan reps or asset managers are going to want to see, is they're going to want to see something from the home path approved lender. And I just had this happen last week. And by the way, you'll get this all the time. You'll be talking to a consumer's lender. By the way, the buyer's not going to know. They're going to, if their one lender they're working with says they're home path approved, of course they're going to, okay, well, why would I doubt you? But you'll talk to the lender, and I don't have this list memorized by any stretch of the imagination. But you'll talk to the lender and you'll ask him, well, are you home path approved? Yes. And I said, well, okay, well, great. What's your name of your place again? ABC Mortgage. No, you're not. They'll fight you tooth and nail. I am. You're not. Okay? But anyway, it's important. So you need to make sure you have that stuff squared away. Just save yourself a whole heck of a lot of time, hassle, and headache. Now, There's different types of home path mortgages. And I will be honest with you, we don't do a lot. You know, it's a program that for whatever reason has not taken root. Back in the 90s, it really did. I mean, there was a lot of people that were taking advantage of this financing. I'd say probably 30–40% of all of the loans that we were doing were going through the home path program. Today, I think the numbers are really small. Drew, what would you say percentage? Less than 5? Less than 5. And by the way, on home path, I got your question, give me 1 second. Just so this doesn't escape me. This is no guarantee, by the way. This is not Fannie Mae standing up and saying, if you want to buy one of our properties, we promise we're going to give you a home path loan. You got to qualify, okay? And the guidelines are actually, from what I've heard from the underwriters, a little bit tougher than qualifying FHA, okay? So you may, when I said earlier, if I had my choice, FHA or home path, I would go home path if for no other reason I want to get rid of the mortgage insurance, right? That alone is probably enough reason that I would want to go with a home path. But if you've got those buyers that are kind of on that margin a little bit, don't be surprised if your home path lender says, sorry, we can't do it. Okay, they're two types. Which, by the way, and if you have a relationship with one of these guys, can't use MetLife again. No, I'm picking on MetLife because I've got a new relationship with someone at MetLife starting this year. They're going to be calling on our office and trying to do some business. But can MetLife do an FHA loan for you? MetLife mortgage? Of course they can. Yeah, okay, of course they can. All of these guys can do FHAs or VAs or conventionals. So if you decide to go down that home path road, and you know the lender ultimately says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't do you a home path because for whatever reason, maybe your ratios are a little high or a little low, whatever they happen to be," you know, they switch you over to an FHA if you qualify. Now, from my perspective, and from, I don't want to speak for Fannie Mae because I don't have the authority to speak from Fannie, but if one of their approved lenders wants to make that type of a switch, it's going to be received better than if it's just coming from, you know, XYZ mortgage company, okay? Because these guys are, for lack of a better description, they're the big boys, they're the players. Okay, I put off your, you even remember what your question was?
Yes,
so far.
I do. With the home path, we noticed, well, I've noticed that the price is a little bit elevated, like
Yep.
you said, for
A little
these
more
properties.
expensive. Yep.
And are you seeing that Fannie Mae will accept less? Because if an agent writes that loan and requests for that loan, it's not
Yep.
doing due diligence for their buyer, correct?
I'm actually, oops, I don't want to leave. I don't want to participate in a survey and I don't want to leave. I have not seen them make any distinction between the home path, from you say offer less or accepting less.
The true market value. I mean, a true agent's going to look and see what the comps are in the area and
Right.
not have you overwrite because of the fact
Right.
that they know there's no appraisal.
Right, and Fannie Mae will accept that offer
Of the-
without reservation.
So even if it's lower than what they're asking.
If their appraisal, and I don't know what their appraisals are. They don't share their in-house appraisers on any of their foreclosures. But let's just suppose that my BPO is 150. And let's just suppose I had some way of discovering that their appraisal was 150, okay, which I don't. And someone wrote an offer at that 175 example that I gave earlier. If the buyer and their agent sat down and discussed it, and that's what they wanted to do, and that offer got submitted into the Fannie Mae site, I've had this happen many, many times, they will accept it at 175, period.
I think you misunderstood my question.
Okay?
I'm saying if the house is listed for 175 and
Right.
we know it's only worth 150,
Correct.
if we put the offer in for
For
150,
150?
even though Fannie Mae has it at 175, do they kick it out because
Well-
they're looking for somebody to come in and overpay for the
No,
house?
I don't think so, but irrespective of home path, let's just pretend we don't have this on the screen right now. If that happens, right, let's just suppose, and frankly,
Because you don't have the appraisal to protect you.
they do. We don't, right? You're right. We don't have the appraisal to
No,
protect us.
no.
What you have is your own knowledge of the market,
Mhm.
you know? And if you haven't done, as a buyer's agent, if you haven't done your own due diligence, and you can't with confidence sit back with that, which by the way, before you guys write offers on properties, should you be sitting down with the client, pulling up some comps, assuming you don't know because you're the area expert and you're already out there, that one just closed for 142, that one closed for 157, that one has a pool at the, and you just know this house is worth 150. But irrespective of that, should we be sitting down with our buyers, taking as much time as necessary in front of the computer and pulling comps to justify the offer price? Specifically in this case, if you know it's listed $25,000 too high, you just should not blindly be going writing off. At a minimum, you need to sit back and have a discussion with your consumer. You have a fiduciary duty to represent your buyer. And you have, at a minimum, need to sit down with them and say, hey, I know you're excited about this, and I know it's listed for 175, and I know it's perfect, and there's schools and grandmas around the block. I said, but I tell you what, I pulled the comps. I don't think this property is going to appraise for $1 over 150. Okay? And just so you know, if you do go with this loan, that safety net we talked about earlier, there is no safety net in the form of an appraisal. So I'm telling you right now, I believe that you may be overpaying for this property by $25,000. Do you want to proceed? Okay? And if they say yes, then you write it up. And frankly, would it be a good idea to put down a little bit of a note that says, hey, agent is advising, I believe that the market value of this property is 150 and the buyer wants to proceed at 175 anyway, understanding that they're doing this type of financing with the understanding that there will be no appraisal. Probably a pretty good idea, right? I frankly have a concern, and it hasn't happened, it'll probably never happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if Fannie comes under some sort of scrutiny a year or two or 3 or 4 or 5 from now. And the scrutiny is Fannie Mae was basically selling properties above appraised value using home path financing and in effect taking advantage of the consumer in one form or another. Okay? I don't know, maybe that'll be a 60-minute story sometime next year.
Or a big class action.
Yeah, so, Lance, even if the buyer realizes that they don't have to have an appraisal with that
Yep.
type of financing, can
They could.
do it themselves?
They
if
could.
They wanted to?
Yeah, they sure could. But again, one of the nice things from Fannie Mae's perspective on this is when they're accepting a home path offer. Number one, when they get the home path pre-qual, and again, we're kind of casting this in a little bit of a negative light. I don't want to cast. This is a good loan program, okay? But again, that appraisal thing, you have to be aware of that.
You have to be smart.
You got to be smart. You have to be a professional.
Due diligence.
Do your due diligence, represent your client well, okay? But one of the nice things about using the home path is Fannie Mae, number one, they look at the list of lenders and they say, one of the lenders that we've approved is putting their name and reputation behind this pre-qualification letter. We like that, okay? Does that potentially get your offer to exactly the same offers? And again, I can't speak for Fannie Mae. I don't want to project that in any way, shape, or form. But we have 2 exactly the same offers, 175, 175. Okay? The bottom line net is exactly the same. One of them's home path and one of them's not. Okay? One of them requires an appraisal, possibly value problems, possibly repair problems. One of them, no appraisal, no value, no repairs. Where they're going to accept the home path.
Yep.
Okay? It makes sense. That's what the program's there for. You know, they want to try to do what they can to get these things accepted. So, but to your point, absolutely have to make sure you're doing your due diligence because they will sell that property at a higher value.
If they can.
If they can, absolutely. And they have. I've seen, okay, we're not having as much of these, but in the era of multiple offers, highest and best, we've all seen properties where we've represented a buyer, or in this case I've represented the seller, and I've sat back and we've had 20 offers on the property, and somebody really wants it bad. And they come in, bam. Now forget about home path. They write it. They write FHA, you know, $25,000, $30,000, or convention, or cash. Okay? They want it. Well, guess what? Fannie Mae will sell it to them. They absolutely will sell it. And they'll even do it in a lot of cases on, forget about home path, on FHA. You write an FHA offer, the bank accepts, and again, we're talking Fannie Mae, forget about Fannie Mae. Any bank. You write an FHA offer, and you know this is too high. It's not going to appraise. $20,000 above my BPO. You can put a little note. Boy, I think this is going to be an appraisal problem. Put it in. You send it into the asset manager. They accept it. Okay. Normally, their response back is, let's see what the appraiser says on that FHA deal. Maybe the appraiser will go out there and maybe they'll think there's $20,000 in value there that I don't. Who am I to say? I'm not the appraiser. So they will sell it. There's no doubt about it. And again, home path, no appraisal. Okay, home path renovation. This is the equivalent of kind of an FHA 203K or 203B. I always get those confused. The FHA renovation loan. Okay, this is Fannie Mae's version of the FHA renovation loan. I don't think in the last 5 years I've done one. If I've done one, it's been one. The program just has not really taken off. Okay. Having said that, you are going to get consumers who will ask you, like we've been talking about here for the last few minutes, you need to do your due diligence. You need to be able to understand and with education and authority, explain to them at least the minimum that's on this flyer. Because they're going to have that information themselves. It's low down payment, it's flexible terms, based upon the as completed value, very similar to the FHA rehab loan. No mortgage insurance, expanded seller contributions available for primary residence, second homes, and investment properties. Hey, did you know that? Did you know you could do this for an investment property? As a matter of fact, I'm going to go back because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Regular Fannie Mae, home path regular, primary residence, second homes, and investment properties. You can get a home path loan on a rental or your vacation home.
I remember what the down payment is.
Down payment is 10%, I believe.
Oh, is it still?
I think they've changed it. I don't know if it says it on this flyer, but I believe it's 10% if you're going to do second home, okay, or an investment property. But it's still better than a non-owner occupant conventional 20% down.
Are they still able to get the concessions also, like 3% towards cooking?
Right now, I don't think there's a place on here for this. Let's see here. Well, maybe special offers and incentives. Right now, there are none running. The date of this video, if you're watching this on video, is January 3rd, 2012. In 2011, Fannie did at least 2 special incentive programs. They've more or less ran almost back to back. And let's see if they have anything. Okay, well, the first look, we already talked about that. Foreclosed property can be revenue grave. Okay, right now there's nothing. Okay, but what they've done in the past, 3.5% closing costs paid to the buyer. Don't even have to. Well, that's not true. I was going to say you don't have to ask for it. Yes, you do have to ask for it. And if you don't ask for it, guess what? You don't get it. No ticket, no wash. You don't ask, you don't get it. Okay? Now, having said that, if you do ask for it, it's built into the process. So let's use our $150,000 property, for example. When you ask for the 3.5% buyer closing cost incentive, and let's assume you're the only offer on the table. Okay? You will not get a counter offer back saying we'll only pay 1%. Okay? They'll pay the 3.5%. And then the same thing with the agent bonus. They were paying the 3.5% incentive to the buyer in closing cost, and a $1,000 bonus to the buyer's agent. But again, you don't ask, you don't get it. Can you flip that light switch on for me? So it's very, very important. You may ask, well, wait a minute, that doesn't sound fair. I forgot, or I didn't know, just slide it. I didn't know the program was available. Well, that's no excuse. Ignorance is no excuse on this. Because it says it, number one, it'll say it in the multiple listing. All the information's all over there. You need to know that. And there's a couple other things you need to know. Number one is these, as you can tell, these offers have expired. The most recent Fannie Mae incentive, I believe, expired October 31st, if I'm not mistaken. I'm seeing some heads nodding right now. Okay? The one prior to that, I think, went through July 31st or August 31st or something like that. But they have some fairly strict guidelines. Offer has to be accepted and closed prior to that date. Well, what happens if I went over 1 day? Well, depending upon the circumstances, you probably lost your bonus and you lost your buyer's incentive. Okay? If it went over by 1 day because it was the seller's fault, because the seller couldn't get an approved HUD or something like that, normally they'll extend that out. But if it went over because the buyer's loan wasn't ready to fund or something happened like that, they pull the incentives back. Okay? Which is, not good. Especially if it's by no fault of your buyer, and especially if your buyer needs the closing costs to close the deal. Okay? Now we make a big deal about whether you ask for it or not. You need to put yourself in the shoes of the bank when these offers are being presented. The theory is they may offer an incentive, but in order for you to make your offer look a little bit better, you may not ask for the incentive. Okay? So if you don't ask for the incentive, they're going to sit back and say, okay, well, these people either don't want it or don't need it, or for whatever reason they've chosen to make their offer look that much better, they have not asked for it. Now your offer is accepted. 3 days later, your buyer is tooling around on FannieMae.com or HomePath.com, and your buyer sees, well, look at this. I've got an incentive, and again, it doesn't say that here, but there's an incentive available. I want it. Or the buyer's agent then all of a sudden realizes there's an incentive and I want my $1,000. Okay? You now 3 days after acceptance come back and say, where's my incentive? Or worse, 3 days prior to close of escrow, you come back and say, oh wait, how come we don't have, where's our 3.5% and our $1,000 bonus? What do you mean, where is it? Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. Well, you're not seeing it anywhere because you didn't ask for it. What do you mean I didn't ask for it? It says right here it's available on all Fannie Mae properties. I know, but read the fine print. If you want it in writing, in the original offer, you have to ask for it. If Drew was in here, he'd be doing a backflip over this, or be pulling his hair out, one or the other. Because so many times after the fact, these people are asking for these things. And then guess what? They don't get it. And they're, oh, you took advantage of me. That's not fair. But like, no, you don't understand. There was 3 offers in at the time. Had you asked for the incentive, guess what? Your offer wouldn't have been accepted in the first place. Yeah. We would have gone with offer number 2, because that would have thrown you out of the range. So, at any rate, you should become very familiar with the site. And to be honest with you, let's just take a moment, since they represent such a huge part of the marketplace. I haven't been on Freddie's site in so long, but you need to take a look at Freddie's site as well. And again, you're going to find very similar information. Searching houses, same thing with Fannie's site. You'll be able to search all sorts of all their inventory. You got a thing here under CEO, whatever it happens to be. Again, exact same thing. And the same thing with HUD homes. Okay, let's just pull that up here real quick. What's their size? HUDhomes.com.
Yeah, on home.
Yeah, HUDhomes.com.
Yeah.
Okay, this is their official site for HUD. And if you're not familiar with HUD, better get familiar with HUD. You better be familiar with these guys. They're going to make us a lot of money. From a sales standpoint, there's a lot of inventory out there. Okay, I'm going to search my map. I want to search my California properties. I want to search it by zip code. You need to spend some time on this site. You need to learn the process. Go through the FAQs. Go through all the rest of the stuff. Because if you don't, who's going to? Who's going to spend time on this site?
The buyer.
Your buyers are going to spend time over here. Okay? If they know more about this than you do, why do they need you? There's always been one of the big fears about in the real estate industry for as long as I've been doing this, or certainly for as long as the information has been being made. Over the years, we've made more and more and more information available to the public. And there's been a debate in the real estate profession. No, the MLS book. That's ours. You know, nobody gets the MLS book. And then we went to the internet, and then all of a sudden, back in '95, I think was the first time there was a public side of the MLS. You guys remember homeseekers.com? Matter of fact, I think that website is still available. You can go to, let's see, Home Seekers. It's kind of fun, yeah, there they are.
There they are.
Okay, now, these guys have kind of fallen off the radar a little bit, and they've been kind of taken over by Trulia and Zillow and Realtor.com. They were the first. This was, and they probably sit back and say, geez, what did we miss, man? What happened? We were the first one to the market, and then somebody came and did an end around on us. But this was one of the very first online real estate tools that had our public information, or excuse me, our private realtor information available to the public. Now, we got everything out there. I mean, we literally almost have everything except the seller's name and phone number out for the public, to keep them out there from going out and searching all this stuff on their own. So, okay, a couple other things. I want to go back to my PDF. I kind of jumped. I went from making sure you get your pre-qualification information, which forced me to go into the Fannie Mae site and talking about home path and getting all the pre-quals and all the rest of that sort of stuff. But again, make sure you've got their financing properly when you're dealing with these buyers. The key, I can summarize this, by the way, we're going to be done here in about 20-25 minutes. Again, the title of our class is Working with In-House REO Buyers. Okay, let's take the REO side out a little bit, and let's take the in-house out a little bit. Working with buyers, okay? Now, we've been focusing on the REO side a little bit, but the key to this whole thing is you need to be professional, okay? You need to represent these people in such a way that when they leave your office or they leave you in the driveway of that house, they don't get in their car and say, all right, I need to do a Google search for realtors in the city of Moreno Valley, because the guy I just left obviously doesn't know what he's doing. Okay? So get that information, get it down straight. Know the financing. Okay? This is going through getting copies of earnest money checks, getting credit reports and FICO scores and all the rest of this, proof of funds. One thing with on a lot of the REO properties, their procedures are basically the same. Okay? Pre-qualification letters, proof of funds. You know, we normally think of proof of funds in the context of a cash buyer. You write a cash offer on an REO property. Well, the asset managers are just like anybody else. What do they want to see? They want to see a proof of funds that says these people have the money. Okay? So make sure you're getting that. If you don't, and if they're not prepared to offer you a proof of funds, then you're in trouble. Okay. Multiple offer procedure. That's where I was going with this. There's multiple offer procedure. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Who's written an offer on one of our properties in the last 2 years? A couple of you? Okay, good. There is a... Well, let's pretend we're writing an offer on one of mine. This is how it works. If you write an offer on anything that I have, alrighty. I'm just pulling up Drew. I'm just sending him an email. Test. Okay. Let's just pretend for a minute I just sent an offer in to Drew, who represents us. Okay. And I emailed him an offer, and I followed my instructions, and my instructions said email an offer to offers@pioneerrealestate.com, and I'm going to wait for an email to come back here. But while I'm waiting for my email to return an automated reply from Drew, or from me actually, what I'm looking for, I'll talk a little bit about the HomePath site. Again, on Fannie Mae's now, all their offers are submitted online. Okay. When you go online and you submit an offer, you get all your information in there. You click submit. It will do one of a variety of things. It will send you an email. That email basically will say, You've successfully submitted an offer on 123 Main Street. It's going to be something similar to this email that I just received from, this is a automated reply from the email that I just sent in to Drew at offers@pioneerrealestate.com. And this basically is telling the agent, we got your offer, okay? Fannie Mae's homepath.com site does the same thing. So if you're submitting an offer on HomePath and you're over here and you get to that submit an offer page, wherever it was, and you click submit, if you don't check your email, or frankly when you do check your email 10 seconds later, if you don't have an email like this directly from HomePath, guess what? Your offer ain't in. Okay? By the way, our business is not for the technically challenged anymore, guys. If you've been trying to skate through our business the last couple of years thinking, oh, this email stuff, I don't need that. Oh, this computer stuff, I don't need that. I'm telling you, I don't mean to be mean, but you are going to get run over. Okay? You cannot even submit an offer on a Fannie Mae property anymore without doing it online. Same thing with HUDs, right? HUDs have been that way for years. And guess what? There's a lot of agents, they probably won't admit this, but there's a lot of agents that do not sell HUD properties specifically because they are intimidated by the computer process.
It's easy. It's only one page.
And it is easy.
One page.
It takes 5 minutes. It's down and dirty. How much? Who are you?
That
What's
part's
your-
the easiest
Huh?
part. That part's the easiest part. It's all the other paperwork that they require.
Right, once it's accepted, then you gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's easy.
But it's easy, okay? Now, like my email, this is our in-house email, like our email, Fannie Mae will also tell you another thing. Fannie Mae will also tell you, ours is a little cruder. You have to read that entire email, by the way. And that entire email says, hey, you might want to call us and ask us if there is multiple offers on the property. Fannie Mae's system is a little more sophisticated. It knows once you submit the offer, oh, by the way, there's 3 other offers. It also sends you an email. And the email says, there's multiple offers. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep your existing offer? Do you want to change your offer? You want to, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 choices. Do you want to withdraw your offer? And if you don't do one of those options, guess what happens? And oh, by the way, it also says the clock is now ticking. You have until this day at this time to do this. So let's suppose the clock was set 2 days ago. And they said you have until 5 o'clock on January 3rd to get us your highest and best. And there's 3 people that are already working on a 5 o'clock January 3rd highest and best deadline. And let's suppose you write your offer at 4:30 on January 3rd, not knowing that there's already 3 people that have written offers. You get that email back, and it says, oh, by the way, you have until 5 o'clock on January 3rd to get us your high. You have 30 minutes to respond. Do you want this offer? Do you want to increase your offer? You want to keep it the same? Do you want to withdraw it? And guess what happens if you don't go back into the computer and make the choice? Your offer gets automatically rejected. Automatically rejected. Okay? Now, in the old days, which was 30 days ago, this is the form that you would get from Fannie Mae. And we use this form all the time on non-Fannie Mae properties. And up until 30 days ago, we used this form, the wonderful multiple offer procedure form, which, to be honest with you, I hate it, because you, especially in the days of getting 15 or 20 offers from your buyers, or from one property, now you've got different people writing different stuff, and the gist of this form is, I'm just going to, you put your name and date and all the rest of that here, but the key is down here. Did I lose it? The key to this form is this section, which I think I just blew right by. Come back up here. Yeah. Okay. As this is scrolling down here, It's basically telling, this is a letter to the buyer's agent. This is not a letter to the buyer, okay? This is a letter to the buyer's agent. And it's basically saying the purpose of this letter is to inform you that there's more than one offer on the property, and the procedure is the following. Number one, inform everybody there's multiple offers on the property. Number two, each interest property is requested to submit their best, highest and best, highest and final, highest, whatever you want to call it. Number three, the seller will accept only one offer at one specific time. Number four, the first offer, what happened to my timelines? There's supposed to be a timeline here. Maybe it's up top. Drew might have changed this and not told me. And then it gives you a deadline. I don't see my deadline. Where'd my deadline go? Well, I'm going to have to talk to my trusted right-hand assistant. But normally, specified, and the accompany email. Okay, we changed the form up a little bit. It used to say on number 2, and your deadline was, it would say right down here, Tuesday, January 3rd at 5 o'clock. Okay? Now it's in the email. So your deadline is whatever it happens to be. On the Fannie Mae properties, you get the email directly from Fannie Mae. They are unforgiving if you don't give them what they want. And if you're supposed to upload something, for example, on the Fannie Mae, which by the way, unlike the HUD's pretty simple. You just go in there and fill out the form, you click submit, and you're done. With the Fannie stuff, you actually have to have the computer savvy to upload a PDF, which is pretty elementary to me. I've done it a million times. That can be challenging for some people. And it's got to be a PDF, and it can't be too big, and it can't be a JPEG, or it can't be a TIFF file. I get that all the time. People scan something at the computer, and it's not a PDF, it's a JPEG, or it's a TIFF. You try to upload it onto the system, guess what? The system says no. I had a gal today, true story. Today, she submitted an offer on a property, this Fannie Mae property, did it online, and got the email apparently to her phone that said, hey, there's multiple offers, you have to get us in your highest and best, and here's the deadline. She calls me and says, I'm in Mexico, and I need to upload, I'm not sure what she needed to upload, but she needed to upload in addition to that. She says, I don't want to have to go back to the hotel to get an internet connection to da-da-da-da-da-da. And her deadline is, today sometime. What should I do? I'm like, I don't know. You're in Mexico. Go back to the hotel. Call back to your broker. Call your manager. Represent your client. I'm sorry, but well, what happens if I don't do it? Well, your offer will, if you don't get in and check the box and click submit, your offer is automatically rejected. Now, one of the reasons that I love this, and I have my listing broker hat on right now, and I wanted Drew to come in and sit in so he could make sure I wasn't lying here too badly, because he works with all the offers. But I'm going to throw out some percentages for some of these. I'm always going to be off by a little bit, but I'm going to throw out a percentage of about 80%. And that 80% are offers that are not submitted properly, completely, correctly, on time. You fill in the other, description, okay? And prior to the online submission process that we're talking about, if you submitted it to me and it wasn't on time, or maybe you didn't fill something out right, or you didn't give me the multiple offer form procedure signed and back and all the rest of that in time, it was your word against my word, your email date and time stamp against my email date and time stamp, and I lived in fear. Because if I had a property that had 25 offers in on it, and one of those offers didn't have all the proper information, I would bend over backwards to get to that 20th offer and say, please get me all this stuff, because I want to get it submitted and I want to get you a fair shake, because I'm afraid that if I don't do that, you're going to come back to me and beat me over the head 60 days from now, and who are you going to complain to? You're going to complain to my client that your offer didn't get submitted, and this and this and this and this and this. So we spent 80% of our time chasing down agents. Guess how much time we get to spend chasing down those agents now? Zero.
Does it automatically?
It's automatic. That agent in Mexico, if she doesn't, it's not up to me to chase her down to make sure she gets in her multiple offers so she can get her offers submitted to get fair
She
consideration.
gets an email.
It's up to her to do it, and if she doesn't do it, guess who automatically rejects her offer? The bank. Fannie Mae does it. Not me. Because if I send you an email that says, hey Mike, your offer's been rejected, or Fannie Mae sends you an email that says, hey, your offer's been rejected, which one of those holds a little bit more weight? The one from the bank. Because they're all, Lance, what are you doing? You know, you had an in-house buyer. You just wanted to, shaft me out of this
Do you
deal.
ever know how many offerings you have on a property because of the new system? Will you ever know?
We do, but it's one thing I don't like about the new system is on the old system. Has anybody here written an offer on any of my properties that you can remember in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
It's been a
What
while.
you remember what street it was on?
Oh, I sell.
On the cell? You remember the address? If you saw it, would you remember it?
Yeah, if I saw it, I remember.
Pick one. Which one is it? You know?
Well, I think, I don't know. Which one was?
12656.
Which one?
It may have been 12656.
12656? Let's
or
try that one.
1261.
It could have been that one.
How much
Um,
is it?
Well, let's see. This is an old one. This is a couple, 3 years old.
No, that wasn't it.
Would it have been that one?
No.
Okay. How was it more recent than that?
Yeah.
Um,
12610 maybe.
610? Okay, well, let's see what that one says. I don't know if this will be a good example or not. But in my old system, well actually this is not my old system, this is my system. Everybody that ever written an offer on that property, these are all the offers.
You have told those for 3 years, too, right?
What's that?
You have told those for 3 years.
I hold them forever.
No, what was that other one that I just
So,
sold?
and these were actually done in 2010. I hold on to these for, this will be in my computer forever. So if you were to call me and say,
Yeah, but
hey Lance, I submitted an offer on LaSalle and whatever. I pull it up and, this is the agent name and the borrower's name. So, Hargrove is the agent, Williams is the buyer. And I double click. I love doing this. I do this all the time. Agents will call me and they'll want to talk about an offer that, was submitted, 3 days ago or 3 years ago. And pull it up at the click of my fingers. I'm looking for page 1 of the offer. This one's actually scanned upside down, which makes it a little funner. I'm looking for a first page of an offer. Actually, this may just be financials. Oh,
Type in number 23 and see what happens. There you go.
23? Oh.
There you go.
Okay, well anyway, here's again, so much for being scanned in properly. But I could sit back and say, yeah, your offer was here, this was the price, this was the this was the that, yada yada. We keep all of them. Now on the Fannie Mae with the new online site, the short answer is yes. It'll basically tell us how many offers have been submitted, how many have been submitted completely. And then again, from the listing broker standpoint, this is what the listing brokers have been screaming for years. Because what was always the knock on the listing brokers over the last 3 years? What were we not doing?
Submitting them.
We were not submitting your offer. We were not submitting, Lance, you're not submitting my offer. I know it. You're a lying, cheating dog, and you want to do it because Sally over here in your office, you want to get her offer accepted and you don't want to get my offer accepted. And I know which is why we save all of these things and why every time we email them in or submit them in, we keep the stamp that says it was submitted. Now, why do you think I love this online offer submission thing? Because nobody can ever say, Lance, you didn't submit my offer anymore.
It takes a lot of responsibility from you.
It takes almost all of the responsibility off of me.
It's like chasing down the agents. It just saves
Right.
so much of your time that you don't have to
Right.
run around all over the place
Yep.
doing all that.
Well, getting back to this multiple offer
She
form,
didn't send it in.
getting back to this form, what did I do with it? Well, actually, I guess, what did I do with it? Here it is. Getting back to this multiple offer form, technically, with Fannie Mae and all the banks, If the buyer's agent doesn't sign and return the multiple offer procedure form, their offer is invalid. Technically, I don't have to submit it, depending upon the bank. Okay? Now, with the new system, when there's a multiple offer, it sends you an email back and it says, hey, jump back into the computer and you need to check a box and you need to click submit. I want to leave my offer the same, I want to raise it, I want to do whatever. If you don't do that, I don't have to chase you down for this form anymore. So, at any rate, I'm going to wrap up here a little bit, and I want to kind of I want to end with what we started with. I don't want to get overly dramatic here, and we've covered a lot of ground in the last hour and 45 minutes. But I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be brutally honest, specifically when it comes to the REO buyers that are flowing through this office, the Fannie Mae's and the Freddie Mac's, and the offers and the buyers that we push through lead routing. I have put a tremendous amount of faith and trust in all of the agents in our office here to make sure those buyers are handled properly. Let's take out the word properly and replace it with professionally. Okay, that's really what this is all about. Okay, we've spent 2 hours, looking at some websites, talking about some best practices stuff, telling you to preview property, telling you to understand the financing, all of those sort of things. But at the end of the day, all that I'm really asking for is that any buyer that ever calls in this office and wants information or wants to see a property is handled professionally. Okay? And frankly, normally I mentioned this part first, but I thought I'd save it for the end. There is, and part of that professionalism means everything we do, and it should go without saying, so it's kind of silly, but everything we do has to be held to the highest scrutiny, the highest standard of professionalism and fairness to everybody involved. Okay? I'm not overstating it when I say at a minimum of once a day, minimum one a day, I will have a buyer, or quite honestly, an agent, that will call me directly and say, I want to work with you, and I want to work with you only. I only want to work with a listing agent, because if I don't work with you, I'll have no chance of getting my offer accepted. Okay? In effect saying that I will not be fair to them. If they write their offer with their current broker, that I will not treat them fairly. They have a better chance of getting their offer accepted with me than they do with their own broker. That's completely untrue. Assuming that their broker knows how to write an offer and package it, present it properly. But as far as me giving them an inside information or an inside scoop or the inside ability to get their offer accepted, they have just as much of an opportunity to get their offer accepted with anybody else. So with that being said, you guys are also going to be approached in that particular fashion, and you're going to be asked, well, since you are an agent in the office that has the listing, you're going to get this pushed through for me, right? Or you're going to find out what the other offers are, right? Or, by the way, I also get a minimum of once a day, especially on properties that have multiple offers. Well, what are the other offers? Tell me what the other offers are. I don't want to waste your time. So just tell me what the other offers are. That way, if they're high, then I won't even bother. I don't want to waste your time. Under no circumstances. Well, first of all, you guys won't know. You certainly shouldn't know. But under no circumstances do we divulge that information. None. Even if you had a way of finding out, the answer is, oh, of course, that wouldn't be fair. Of course that wouldn't be fair. And if you really explain it to the buyers, even if I was to tell you, oh yeah, the highest offer is 150, and therefore you're going to write your offer at 151, what sort of trust and confidence would you have in me? Because what would then prevent me from telling the next person that called, oh, well, the highest offer is 151. Okay? It's funny, when I have that conversation with the agents and the buyers, a little bell tends to go off in the back of their head. They're like, oh, yeah, I guess that's right. If you were to tell me, I guess I probably would never want to do business with you, because you would then tell the next person who called in what my offer was. So we don't do that. And it's to the point where when those buyers call me and say, I want to work with you only, I tell them point blank, I do not write offers. for buyers on any of my inventory. Specifically because I don't want to be in that situation where anybody's going to look at me and say, well, of course that Lance's offer got accepted because Lance had the inside scoop. Which is why all of the buyers that we deal with go to you guys. Okay? And if you've ever, nobody in this room has done it, but it's happened. It's happened where agents in this office will come to me and say, hey, I've got a buyer for 123 Main Street. I know you've got multiple offers. Where do I need to be? I don't care who you are. Don't ask me that question. I can't do that. I'm going to lose my account. You know? So, at any rate, we've got maybe another 10 minutes if you guys want it. Anybody have any questions? We've covered a lot of ground. I think, frankly, there's probably only 50% of the things I wanted to discuss that I actually hit on. I'm sure we'll turn the tape off and I'll think of a few other things. I don't see any hands. Oh, yep.
Where are your properties just on their two home path, or do we have knowledge of?
You came in a little bit late, but it's worthy of a showing you again. All of our inventory is, if you go to our website, okay, and on our website, on the left-hand side, scroll down to number 1, portal agents, agents portal. You click on that. I'm already logged in, so it's not going to ask me for a password. If I hadn't been logged in before, it'll say, because it's a protected site, you type in CBPRE agent. That'll get you here. And then when you get to this portion of the site, you want to click on market data. And then at the very top of the market data section is our REO inventory list. Okay? As we discussed earlier, this list is embedded into a web page, and it is refreshed every 15 minutes. So if I was to, and I should have done this as an example, I should have went in and just changed one of these things just to show you. But if I was to change this price from $247.5 to $237.5, and I don't know if it's done every 15 minutes on the clock or when it's done, but if you would then come back 15 minutes later and go to the same exact link and click here, it would now be 237. Matter of fact, I'm curious. It might be live. Let me try that here real quick. 36042 Eagle. Let me just try something here. It used to be every 15 minutes. Something's telling me Brian changed that. Eagle. Which one was it? Either one of those looked right. Alright, let me go back here a minute. 36042, huh? It might not be Eagle exactly. Ah. 36042. This is our internal site. Oh, I'm supposed to say Eagle right here, that's why it doesn't say that. Okay, this is our internal site, and you guys don't have access to this. But when we want to change the price to...
So you don't have to go to the MLS?
No. 247.5. I'm just going to change this to, let me just take off the 500. Okay. That talks to this. And let's see if it does it live. But I'm going to refresh this page. And let's see if it's going to be now or whether it's going to take 15 minutes to get there. Okay. I'm going to leave this alone, but if you guys want to test me, come back in 15 minutes, go to our website and see if that changes to 247 even. Because it should change every 15 minutes. So, at any rate. And again, you came in a little bit late. You guys need to be previewing this inventory. Not just mine, not just Dwayne's. Preview, and again, our title of our class is our in-house REO stuff. Apply this exact same material Go preview Mike Novak's inventory. Go preview Hugo Ballarezo's inventory. If you want to be the REO professional, go preview all the HUD inventory. Who cares who the agent is? Go preview all of it. And nothing would make me happier, believe me, and if you're not doing this already, then shame on you, because you should. If somebody calls in on Eagle Lane, okay, they need to, and you happen to know that there's a property around the block from Eagle Lane that's a HUD, which is a better property, you need to know that. Oh yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you over here at 36042 Eagle Lane, I'll show it to you. I said, do you have an extra few minutes? Why is that? Because there's another property right around the block, which is the same model, same floor plan, same neighborhood, in 10 times better condition for the same price. So I want to make sure you see that one too. Now how are you going to be able to do that if you're not engaged in the market? You're not previewing property, you're not the professional. And again, if you don't do that, let's suppose the buyer then subsequently asks you a question while you're out in front of 36042 Eagle Lane and says, do you have anything else that's similar to this in the neighborhood? And your answer is, no. And then they just look at their little sheet and say, well, that was a test question. You failed. Because I happen to know as the consumer that there is something like this similar in the neighborhood. And I was determining whether or not I wanted to work with you or not. And because you didn't know that there was another house right around the block that was identical to this that was a HUD, I guess I don't want to work with you. So let me drive around the block and let me call that HUD agent. Do buyers do that?
Mm-hmm.
I would do that. If I was in a community and I did not know who I wanted to work with as an agent, I would ask some qualifying questions, just like we qualify our buyers. I would ask some qualifying questions to my agent. And I'd test you a little bit, you know? What about that house across the street? What about this one? What about that one? I saw that house on the corner over there, a bunch of dead grass and tall weeds. What do you know about that? Can you give me information on it? And maybe I already know. Maybe I already know. It went to foreclosure 3 days ago, and I've already talked to the agent, but I'm looking for someone to represent me. We got to be the professionals. Okay, one last question, and we're done. Just in time for Chris.
On the pre-marketing,
Yes.
I know you said there's a lockbox, but we can't have the lockbox combos anymore.
We don't give out the combos anymore. Oh, that's another. Oh, thank you so much. It's another thing that I had forgotten. We're not giving out combos on anything anymore, even to you. Okay. There should be super boxes, electronic supers on everything.
Even on the
Okay.
pre-marketing.
Even on the pre-marketing. Now, I'm seeing some head shaking.
No, it's not.
No.
If you're not seeing Supras on everything, you need to let me know. Call me, Lance, you just wasted my time, because I was out on 123 Main Street and there's not a Supra on there. Okay, this is again another very important factor. If let's pretend, by example, do agents get combos? Yes. Do agents give combos to their buyers? Nobody in this office, of course. Let's talk hypothetically. Are other bad agents out there giving combos to their buyers?
Yes.
Yes. Okay? Is that a problem?
Yes.
Yes.
Lance,
Let me finish my thought real quick, Marilyn. Fannie Mae has, and Freddie Mac, and all of these banks have field inspectors going out to these properties every single day, looking for, is there a sign in the yard, are the doors locked, is the grass been cut, are there flyers in the kitchen, all the rest of that sort of stuff. When they drive up, they do not drive up with a big old sign on the side of their car saying bank inspector in a uniform and a hat. It says bank inspector. They drive up in a little Toyota Tercel. Guy gets out with shorts and flip-flops. Looks like a buyer. Looks like just a consumer driving down the street. Goes in, he sees that the door is open, sees a car parked in the driveway. The guy just kind of strolls on in. Hey, you know, oh, don't mind us. Our agent just, you know, gave us the code. Oh, who are you working with? Oh, I was working with somebody from Lance's office, Chris. You know, he said just go ahead, you know, go over. He was busy. Or the Lance guy was too busy to show it to us, so he had somebody else call us, and he was too busy too, so he just gave us the code. Okay? Guess who loses his Fannie Mae account tomorrow? Does that happen? That happens. I bet that happens every day. Every single day. Now, nobody in this office, but it's the agent from Long Beach who wants to see the property out here, got the combo. So that's why Fannie Mae's changed all their combos. You know, the AMN combo that everybody under the sun knew. I mean, everybody knew it. That's the way. They don't have those anymore. Now each combo is different. Each combo is unique. All the rest of that sort of stuff. But they were field inspectors were running out. Oh, my agent got the combo from the listing agent. He lives in Long Beach. He didn't want to drive out to Riverside, so he just gave me the code and said, "Go take a look at it, and if I want to write an offer to call him back." Anyway, if you don't find a Supra, electronic Supra, on all of our inventory, including the pre-marketings, let me know. Okay? Because there needs to be Supras on all of them. Which also begs the question, if you don't have a Supra key, are you engaged in the real estate business today? I would venture a guess you are not. So, if you don't have a Supra key, then resolution number 1, go down to the Board of Realtors. I don't know what they cost. What are they? $90, and then you got to pay what? $16 a month or something?
$600.
Not for a Supra. That's your
water
water use.
177.
177.
$70 a year.
No, it's not.
25 for.
177. $170.
For the insurance. Okay, but yeah, don't you have to lease them, or is that part of the lease?
You can do it
$177.
with your cell phone. If you have a smartphone now, you can.
He's not talking about opening them. He's talking about the lockbox, right?
No, the lockboxes themselves. No, I'm talking about opening them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're talking about
Yearly,
opening.
super key.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lockbox is $160.
Okay, well, but basically it's a lease that you're paying in advance. So it's 15, not even that. It's $10, $11 a month. If you can't afford $11 a month to get a Supra key to open the Supra box, then you're not in the real estate business.
But if you have a smartphone, like you were
Smartphone.
saying,
Oh, they're slick.
it's $14 a month.
Extra,
a month.
right? And then you get to do the little thing on my iPhone. You have to
The
plug this little
coffee,
thing
yeah,
on there,
That's right.
and super slick. I got to tell you, if you're this class is more geared towards buyers agents.
That's
But
the
if
fob.
you are, what's that?
No, I was like, yeah, it's a fob.
Yeah, there's a little fob that you have to plug into your. From what I understand, shortly, and I don't know what the technology is going to change, but with the iPhone, there's going to be a new app that will eliminate the need for this, because this is a pain in the butt. You know, back with the Trios, I used to be a big Trio guy, or any of the phones that were infrared, you didn't have to have this. You just, because the lockbox itself has an infrared connection. The Trios had infrared. The iPhones, infrared's old school, baby. Nobody does it. Everything now is Bluetooth. Okay? And all of our electronic lockboxes are not Bluetooth, they're infrared. Anyway, they're figuring a way around that. I will tell you though, if you're a listing agent, who's got a listing in here? Good. Okay. You have a Super lockbox on it? Yes. Okay. Better. If you're not, go get one. Yeah, they're expensive. They're $100. You can get some used ones at East Valley's. They got $75 used ones that look brand new. But at any rate, these are the coolest things, especially if you use your smartphone. Because every time you click on your E-key on your smartphone, it'll tell you, hey, you've got 4 showings. Oh, really? Who? Chris Leeper just showed my property. Cool. That's pretty nice. Marilyn Schnagel just showed my property. Cool. You know, and then you, in theory, what are you supposed to do? I'm supposed to call you. Hey, what'd you think of that? Hey, what'd you think of that? So, anyway, no combos. Don't give out the combos. It's deadly. Deadly for me. I can get in big trouble.
So then the HUD keys, and I have all the set of keys. Those don't work anymore?
Which ones?
The HUD keys,
The HUD keys work.
they still work?
Yeah.
And what about the other ones?
It's a little bit different. The HUD master keys are still, HUD's always gone with that, and frankly, if you have some of the other banks' master keys, they're still keying them basically the same.
Yeah.
So if you happen to have come into possession of one of those keys, they're still going to work.
I have all.
So, yeah. Which, along those lines, if you're selling a property, this is another reason why we rekey all of the properties at close of escrow. Because all of the properties are basically keyed the same. Okay? Fannie has a master key, Freddie has a master key, B of A has a master key. So, you don't rekey your property, which we do on all of them, but if you didn't rekey your property, there could be hundreds of people, thousands of people, walking around with the key to your house. Anybody from the landscaper to the pool guy to the contractor to some dirtbag real estate agent who's waiting for you to move in and going to wait for you to go to the store and come on in and take your new TV. with the master key.
First, where did you get the HUD piece from? Because I had HUD keys. This was way back.
You know what? I think currently the HUD. I think the HUD listing brokers are responsible for it. Does anybody know the answer to that? It used to be you had to go down to the local HUD office in Santa Ana and pick them up there.
Pimco, they have one in San Bernardino too, Pimco.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah.
while, the two
Pimco,
penny groceries.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. That's why the local. I mean, locally, and God, it just kills me that we didn't pick up the HUD account this year. But Corey Beeson's office is doing HUDs. Dustin Lucens at Keller Williams is doing HUDs. I think you can go get them directly from those guys.
Well, we are approved to put in our
Oh, yeah.
offer.
We are definitely approved. If you want to write an offer on a HUD, you go in and you put on our NAID number and you're good to go and all the rest of that. What we're not approved for, and I'm working on this, we'll see. The next round, and I have no one to blame but myself. I knew it was coming and I screwed up. But the next round that they open for HUD listing brokers, I'm hopeful that we're going to get on the HUD listing broker side, which would kind of be similar to what we do on the Fannie and Freddie's as the listing side. It just opens that much doors for it, many more doors for us. So, okay, I don't see any more hands going up. So, Drew, you have anything to add? Perfect. All right, guys. Well, Happy New Year. Go out, sell something. My name is Lance, or whoever you are. Don't say you're me. You know, and I am here at your service. Yes, the property is available. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, listed for $120,000, and I can show it to you this afternoon if you like. Whatever you want to do. Okay. So they're going to plug in this information. Now, this is a problem, and I need to get some feedback from you guys. The call center is constantly improving. 2 things should happen. Number 1, if the property is listed, they're going to select the property down here. That's much easier for you guys. Much, much, much easier for you. Okay? In that it's now when the lead comes across, it says this consumer is interested in the property listed at 123 Main Street for $175,000, and it gives you that basic information, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not up and down if I want. And by the way, if I say something that's not right, then you know, oh wait a minute, it doesn't work like that. Somebody tell me. So if it has that information, that's an easy one. Okay? Now, that also, I'm making a gigantic leap of faith and an assumption here, and I understand that probably for most people, what I'm about to say, this is not correct. Okay? But if you really want to rise to the top and you want to close these leads and you want to catch my attention, then when that lead comes through and it specifically says John Smith is interested in 123 Main Street, that's easy for you because you have already seen 123 Main Street, because you are all collectively out previewing property every day, right? Wrong? Okay. Now, I would like the truth to be that everyone says, of course, Lance, whenever we get a new, and again, we're focusing today's discussion on working with the in-house REO buyers, which means they're interested in our in-house REO inventory, okay? But this applies to anything. This doesn't, you can apply this same class to working with buyers generally, even though our focus is going to be on the REO side. But what you should be doing is you guys should be going to our website regularly, pulling down our REO inventory regularly, and previewing it, okay? And I'm not talking about just previewing the, by the way, this is our website. I'm moving kind of fast. On the far left side, about, I don't know, halfway down, there is a, under other, #1 agent portal, or portal agents. Who in this room has been to this? Good, most of you. All right. If you go there, it is password protected. Okay. You do have to type in your password. CBPREAGENTS. OS. I don't think there's an S. I haven't logged in a while. If you log in regularly, it kind of saves you in a cache or something like that, and you don't have to do this very often. If you go here, and you go to, I think it's market data, I think at the very top, REO inventory list. Okay? This REO inventory list is updated every 15 minutes. okay? So if we made a change to this property on Leland 15 minutes ago, and it went from active to pending, well, this is as good as 15 minutes, which for most purposes. Okay. All right. This class we're doing today is going to be, I think it's titled, what, Working with Inhouse REO Buyers? Is that what we're doing? Okay, we're going to spend a little bit of time going through this, which is actually part of a different class. But I'm not going to start with that because we're actually going to start in Lead Router a little bit, and we're going to do a little bit of a live demo in Lead Router. Let me get this pulled up here real fast. And is everybody in here on Lead Router? Active?
I've asked, but I've had training in it, and my name was,
And you're not in there?
no.
Okay. Well, that's one of a couple of reasons. Either number one, you're not trained and you think you are.
I went to the class.
Okay.
Is that-
Or you're not eligible and you think you are.
Well, that's okay.
Or we internally have said we're not giving you any leads for some reason, which is possible for those of you on tape. You know, Lead Router generally is open to everybody in the office,
Yeah.
but if you're not getting leads and you think you've been trained, you need to talk to your manager, because it's possible that we've said you're not getting any leads
Well,
because we don't like you.
Well, maybe
Not you
that's it.
specifically, but
Well, maybe,
there-
but
there's-
that's fine.
well,
Well,
well, it's not fine. If you think you should be getting leads and you're in the system and you're not, you need to go talk to your sales manager, okay? Because most of the time, we're going to find out here in a minute.
But that's okay.
Well, no, it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. Okay, this is actually, let's go. You guys have seen this a little bit before, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on Lead Router because this is not a Lead Router class. This is, you get a buyer who's interested in one of our in-house REOs, and this is what you need to do in order to work with those. I used to be a lot more particular about, and this is who's on Lead Router right now, so let me see if I can find you on here somewhere, Maryland. And wow, a lot of people eligible for Lead Router
No,
right
I
now.
think,
Okay, you are not on here.
but that's, I was in Paris, not here.
Okay.
But it's,
Well, it wouldn't matter because this is all offices.
oh,
You know, here's the Redlands office
Oh,
and the
but-
Claremont Covina
it's
office.
okay.
Well,
I'm just-
after the class, shoot me an email or go see Shelley, and we'll find out what the problem is.
I don't.
So, okay, what I was saying earlier is I used to be pretty particular about any agent working with a buyer who was then subsequently going to work with one of the REOs. I've kind of slacked off of that, which is not a good thing. One of the things that I'm concerned about, because there's a lot of secret shoppers out there that are secretly shopping listing agents that work for Fannie Mae or they work for Freddie Mac or they work for the banks, and they want to make sure that we, the collective we, are handling the properties the way they want them handled. So in the course of today's class, properly handling the properties would mean properly handling the buyer inquiries. Okay, so if a consumer calls on a listing 123 Main Street, which is, let's just say it's a Fannie Mae, for example, and it's my listing, the expectation is that that consumer is going to get the good information. It's going to be handled. They're going to be handled professionally in a timely fashion, so on and so forth. And from Fannie Mae's perspective, their expectation is that that's either going to be done directly by me, or if it's not done directly by me, it's done by agents that work within my team that are competent and professional and know what they're doing. Which is why previously, and again we're going to probably reinstitute this a little bit, there was a fair amount of concern that a buyer would call in on a property, they would end up with an agent who maybe was not familiar with the Fannie Mae properties, not familiar with a variety of issues as it relates to that property, and frankly one of you guys would say the wrong thing, okay? And then even if it wasn't a secret shopper type buyer that Fannie Mae sent out directly, maybe that consumer was upset. You know, they weren't handled professionally, they weren't called back in a timely fashion, they weren't called back at all. They were told the property was sold when it wasn't sold. They would then contact, which is easy to do. If you want to file a complaint on an REO broker, Fannie Freddie broker, I mean, you could literally be talking to somebody in Washington, D.C. within an hour or so and say, hey, I'm John Q. Public. I tried to get information on oops. Excuse me. Your presence is requested. Don't mind the video. It's okay. At any rate, I tried to get information on 123 Main Street. The listing broker was Lance Martin, and I either didn't get information or I got bad information, and I'm upset. Next thing you know, that person from Fannie Mae at Washington, D.C. is calling the asset manager locally, and then the asset manager is calling me, and they're saying, we have a problem. John Q. Public called on your listing, and this is what they said happened. Okay? That is a huge concern of mine, especially when I now allow what looks to be like a list of 100 people that will, in theory, take my buyer leads and not handle them properly. Okay? Pretty scary. And as a matter of fact, from my perspective, it wasn't that long ago that I wouldn't let you on Lead Router until we had this type of conversation. So, and frankly, that's probably going to be the case moving forward because I've gotten a little lax with it, and we're either really good, which I hope that that's the case. I hope everybody in the office is really good and handles the buyers professionally and timely and all the rest of that. Or we've been really lucky, one or the other. And lucky doesn't float. That's a recipe for disaster. So, at any rate, the reason I bring up Lead Router is because, frankly, a lot of these leads are going to come to you. And if you're not familiar with it, I'm just going to give you the basics. This is what the call center sees. The consumer calls in. My name is John Smith. I have a phone number. Maybe we get an email. Not normally. We don't normally get emails unless they send an email directly, which happens. We could get leads from homepath.com, which is an email lead, and in that particular case, you guys would be getting an email lead from Lead Router, and it would say, hey, this person has requested information on 123 Main Street. Their preferred method of contact is via email. Okay? The same rules apply on an email lead that apply to a call-in lead. 15 minutes. So if you're going to accept those leads, then within 15 minutes you need to get on the computer, in this particular case, send an email back to that client and say, that's pretty damn good. Okay? So if you do go to our website and you follow this link and you pull this list up, you should have data which is pretty accurate. Okay? So getting back to, let's see how many properties we have in here. I think there should be about 120. There's 109. There's 109 records. This, by the way, this currently, and I'm going to change this, note to self, I got to change this. This doesn't include Dwayne's inventory with the Freddie Mac stuff. I need to get a separate link up here that'll have Dwayne's. But let's pretend it had everything. So this, getting back to the lead now comes in. Let's just take East Palm Avenue in Redlands. Okay, if you are taking leads in Redlands, which I'm sure probably most of you are, would it have been a good idea for you to go preview 237 East Palm Avenue in Redlands? Yes. Along with all of these others. Okay? Even the ones, let's find one that's not listed yet. Okay, let's grab this
Sunny
one.
Meadows?
Pardon me?
Sunny Meadows?
Okay, well, Sunny Meadows is maybe one. I'm just going to grab this one here on Peppermint.
Okay.
Okay? The PM, by the way, anything that has PM in front of it is just pre-marketing. Okay? So this particular one is pre-marketing vacant. We need to reformat this a little one. There's the pre-marketing dash ... That probably is pre-marketing personal property. Okay? But anything with the PM, and again, these are the ones that you really need to know as well, because these buyers can be even captured and coddled even a little bit more so than maybe some of the other ones. But if someone calls you on Peppermint, okay, it would be nice if you instantaneously knew, Peppermint, bank-owned property, not listed yet. I've seen it. It's a 4-bedroom. It's in a cul-de-sac with the pool. The pool is green, but Lance tells me they're going to clean it up and it's going to be blue in a week. So you've got all that information, and then better yet, you can basically, as soon as you call that client back, you know exactly what you're talking about. As opposed to what I'm fearful many times is you do get the lead, The consumer says, I need information on 123 Main Street. Oh, let's go back to lead writer here for a second.
You have lock boxes on those ones that are pre-marketing?
There's normally lock boxes on all of them, yes. Let's go back to lead writer here for a second. I made the assumption that the buyer called in and had a specific address and that property is already listed. Okay, so if it's already listed, the call center should be selecting, here it is, down here, the actual listing. So when your phone rings, it's giving you all the listing information. It's giving you that basic information already. Again, I'm hoping that that triggers in your mind, yes, I previewed that property 3 weeks ago and I know everything I need to know about it. Now sometimes we all know that that's not the case. The Peppermint property, for example. Buyer calls in, we have a sign out in front of Peppermint. Peppermint is not listed yet, right? Therefore, it's not in the MLS, it's not going to show up in this list. So what the call center, I hope, is doing is coming over here into the comment section and typing in, buyer called on 123 Main Street, or in this case Peppermint, property not listed yet, and pre-marketed. I don't think they're going to that extent, okay? But hopefully they're giving you as much information not only on the property over here, but they're also giving you as much information on the buyer. For example, the buyer says, I'm coming in from out of town on Tuesday. I'd like to view properties on Wednesdays and Thursdays and get an offer accepted before I leave on Thursday night because I'm going out of town for another 2 weeks. Okay. Would that be something you guys would like to know? Of course it is, and if they say that, that should show up in the comment section over here. So, from a standpoint of previewing, I would love it if we could all, with confidence, sit back and say that we have reviewed and looked at all of these properties, okay? Especially if you are in the lead router pool that says you have an opportunity to take a look at all of these properties, because that basically makes you just that much more professional. Now, I think we talked about this in one or two other prospecting classes, but if you are primarily, let's keep it really simple. You are primarily a buyer's agent and you are primarily focusing in a specific area, okay? Any town, USA, okay? The same philosophy would be nice. New listings are coming on the market on a daily basis, right? If you are going to be working in that particular market, you need to get up and you need to preview those properties. Go out and take a look at them. Call the particular owner up. I'd like to come by and preview your property. Do you have a buyer? No, I don't have a buyer. Well, why are you coming by? Because I'm the neighborhood expert in this particular neighborhood, and I would like to come on up and preview it because I could get a phone call this afternoon for somebody looking for a 3-bedroom, 2,200 square feet on the north side of town. And if I've seen your property, I'm good to go. Okay? All right. So, getting back specifically to our REO stuff. Number one, basics, is if somebody's calling in on whatever property it happens to be, we need to be able to answer their questions with authority. Okay? Yes, it is available. No, it is not available. It is in escrow. Or it's already closed escrow. Or it's going to be available, but it's not on the MLS yet. Well, you need to know what. Why is that? I don't understand that. There's a sign in the yard. Why is it not in the MLS? Well, it's in pre-marketing. What does that mean? Property's been foreclosed upon. We don't have a list price. Could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe we're waiting for the BPO to be completed. Maybe we're waiting for the bank to complete the appraisal. Maybe we're waiting for repair bids. Now, nowhere on this form well, there may be some notes over here that give you a little bit of an indication, or you could always call me, or you could call Drew, or Vicky, or whoever else on the team. But I don't expect you necessarily to have all that minutia, but you do need to be able to, if it's not listed yet, you need to be able to explain to that consumer in a way that they understand. Well, why is it not listed? We're waiting for the appraisal, we're waiting for repairs, maybe the property just went through foreclosure and there's personal property remaining. So just give them the basics. There could be a variety of reasons why this property is not on the market yet, but I assure you this, it is going to come on the market and you have just as good a chance as the next person to write an offer and see that. By the way, when would be a good time for us to go by and look at it? Today at 2 or tomorrow at 4 would be better. Okay? So, and you can show these properties. And I'm talking specifically pre-marketing properties. I have one serious caveat and concern with that. Some of the properties that are in pre-marketing with personal property, I discourage you from going through those properties